According to Jewish tradition, the age of marriage, and this comes from Genesis 21 and 22, where Isaac marries Rebekah at the age of 40 years old. But how old was Rebekah? Well, according here to Genesis...
Wait for the references, ladies and gentlemen, because he's going to say chapter such and such and give us the verse that says she was 3. By the way, don't you love this deception? I mean,
it's amazing.
He seems to think if you're flipping through a book, that this will be impressive, especially if you get a big old book. The rule is not be honest with the text and be truthful. The rule is say whatever you want so long as it's defending Islam, and say whatever you want, true or false, doesn't matter, completely irrelevant, as long as it's attacking other people's positions. That is the rule of dawah. Okay, so he says this in Genesis. He says this in Genesis
21 and 22. We find that Rebekah was only 3 years old, and this is confirmed by all.
Problem. Rebekah isn't even mentioned in Genesis 21. Not even mentioned in Genesis 21. He says this in Genesis 21. Whoa, look, did you see this? Watch what he said right here. All rabbinic.
All of them? You
and
sure
this is confirmed by all rabbinic scholars.
It's all nonsense. I don't even know if he can read. Like, honest, I'm questioning if he can, because he's just flipping through pages and he says it's right here in Genesis 21 and 22. As you pointed out, it's not in Genesis 21, and in Genesis 22 it doesn't mention her age. He does not understand the actual rabbinic commentary, what's actually happening, and where this idea actually came from in later Talmudic and Mishnah type texts.
He has absolutely no clue, but let's do something crazy. Everyone needs to learn this passage. You need to learn that this is at the end of Genesis 22. Remember that, 22, Genesis 22. Genesis 22, and just go to the end and read this with your Muslim friends, and is it saying what they claim it's saying? Because what they say is, there's no age given for Rebekah here. You have to kind of piece it together and say, oh, so-and-so was this age, and when this person was this age, and when that person was this age, then so-and-so was this age. You have to try to piece it together. You can't piece it together without completely misreading this part in Genesis 22. So you have to misread this part, or you can't get through it. You have to read this in a certain very, very strange way. So Genesis 22, this is about the sacrifice of Isaac. So we'll start at verse 19. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham lived at Beersheba. Now, after these things, it was...
That's key right there, verse 20.
Yeah. After these things, it was told to Abraham. So Abraham gets news from home. Why? Well, he moved a long way from home. How do you know? This isn't like today where you could call someone on your cell phone. This isn't like today where you can email someone. You didn't even have like something like the Pony Express sending letters back. So you're not even sending letters, like, you don't have the U.S. Postal Service. You would eventually hear news from home after you've been because some travelers or some traders would come from some other area, and you say, wait, you came from where? Oh, is there any news for how things are going for my family that I haven't heard from for 10 years? What's going on back home? I haven't seen them in such a long time. Give me some news. So Abraham is told how things are going back home. Now, after these things, it was told to Abraham, behold, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz his firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel fathered Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Moreover, his concubine, whose name was Reumah, bore Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. So, how are you getting an age for Rebekah here?
The rabbinic sources claim that this is the year Rebekah was born. As you can see, it's not in the text.
Yeah.
These are just later conjectures made by rabbis that this is the same year Rebekah is born. Then they go to the next chapter and it says when Sarah died. Now what they claim, again, conjecture, not supported, way too speculative, probably false. They claim that the reason Sarah died is because she was so distraught by seeing Isaac taken up on the mountain and almost killed that she basically died. Not accurate, because Genesis 22 says Abraham and Isaac had walked for like 3 days away from where they were staying. So Sarah is nowhere near, but this is later rabbinic conjecture trying to calculate these ages. Based on that, they say, well, Rebekah had to be 3 because just after Abraham sends his servant, and it'd be about 3 years or so. But all conjecture, all nonsense, all made up by far later rabbis who just made error after error here. And this is why you just can't take everything they say as if it's a dogma.
So a rabbi misread this and passed it on to others. And as opposed to what our good friend, the Muslim cowboy, claimed, no, this is not the consensus position. You have multiple positions on the age of Rebecca. The claim that she was 3 is based on a clear misunderstanding of this text. The text is not saying this. So the reasoning, again, and that's why everyone needs to become familiar with this. The reasoning here that some rabbi actually thought, and which is what every Muslim dawah guy uses now. Every Muslim dawah guy does the exact same thing. And they insist that since a rabbi said this, we all have to say the same thing. We all have to agree. No, we don't. If we think someone is reading the text in a stupid fashion and has committed an obvious blunder and misunderstanding, we do not have to. If a rabbi reads this passage and concludes that this is the moment Rebecca was born, which is what was concluded, that's stupid. That is a stupid, not because it has it. I'm not even talking about morally. I'm talking about reading the text. This is a stupid way to read the text. So the claim is, since this is when Genesis mentions Rebecca, this means Rebecca was born right then, since that's when Abraham heard about Rebecca. So look at what is actually said. Milcah has also borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz his firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo. Since Abraham is hearing about all these men for the first time, does that mean they're all born right then, right now when he hears about them? No. One of the people who's mentioned is Bethuel, who fathered Rebecca. Does that mean that Bethuel was born at the same time his daughter was born? No one would conclude that. You'd have to be absolutely insane or really, really sloppy at reading. And yet the Muslim defense is, since Rebecca is mentioned here, this is exactly when she was born.
Yeah, and if you do the math, I mean, Abraham was pretty old. We don't really know Abraham's age, but he would still be pretty old because Isaac's birth was miraculous. Nahor would have had multiple children at this point. Those children would be having children as well. So Nahor could probably have had multiple grandchildren at this point. Rebecca is probably much older at this point based on that, because again, so much time has elapsed. And this is why I talk about Abraham having a child in his old age. You're talking about someone much older, not someone who's a young strutting cowboy out there who's only 30 or something. And so Nahor's children are not just having children at that point. They're probably also approaching adulthood or in their adulthood at that point.
Is this saying how old she was? No, it's saying Abraham heard news from home about all these people who were born. It gives the name of the men. It mentions Rebecca only because it's about to go into the story of Rebecca 2 chapters later. Are you getting an age for Rebecca here? The Muslim cowboy says yes, clearly she was 3. Not what the text says. It says this is when Abraham heard about his family back home. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Notice the time gap in verse 20. Now, after these things, it was told to Abraham. That could have been 10 years. We're not told. And it also doesn't say when Rebecca was born. It just says Abraham heard about these people, unspecifying the years they were born.
He's been gone a long time. A lot of stuff happened while he was gone, and he hears news about who his relatives are that he didn't know about. They tell him, he finds out about Rebecca. How are you getting an age here? You can't.
Let me just put this up here because he said all the rabbinic scholars agree. No, they don't. In his commentary on Genesis 24, Rabbi Kasher in his Torah Shalema deals at length with the conflicting opinions about Rebecca's age at marriage.
Wait, so conflicting opinions? I thought it was a consensus that she was 3.
No, apparently there's conflicting opinions, and you would know this if you read Muslim Cowboy.